All right, so now we're outside.
We're
And
outside, yes.
day 3 of the project, day 2 of the shoot. So why don't we talk a little bit about some of the choices that you're making based on the script and what kind of fixtures you're using, and we'll talk about your camera settings and stuff.
Sure, yeah. So there's basically a handful of kinds of lighting that we need to do. There's basically a couple of practical effects that we need to pull off that are going to be augmented with VFX and post.
Okay.
And so we need to create kind of a general ambience. We need to create a cabin ambience. We need to create a little bit of a moonlight ambience.
Right.
And then we need to create an alien space light. And so we have to do all of that while making it feel like it's totally normal, natural,
Right.
regular life. So so basically all of our interior is very, very warm, kind of dim tungsten light.
Yeah.
And so that when the alien light comes through the windows, which was very blue, it was a very distinct color contrast.
Okay. In the interior.
In the
Yeah,
interior.
right.
So basically we're going to continue that kind of dichotomy out here as well. So
Okay.
we've got just clip-on lights hung under the porch here that's kind of creating these pools.
That we're not seeing right now.
That we're
so
not
these
seeing, yeah.
practicals are part of the cabin.
That's correct. Yep,
Okay.
part of the cabin, and then we just put some practicals there.
Okay.
And then we've got our light bar that we were using inside as well is
Yep.
going to come out, and we're going to dim that down to just create a little bit of direction, a little bit of kind of nice side like edge light when Ned, our character, comes out. So basically everything here we're going to have nice and warm. It'll be kind of flooding over him, backlighting him as he comes out.
Got it.
And then basically everything alien is blue.
Coming from over here.
From this side, yep.
So this bar light over here
Mhm.
is essentially doing a very similar job to what it was doing inside.
That's correct. That's
it's
correct.
just doing it outside.
Yep, bringing it out to do the same thing was
Right.
just a nice, like, giving it a little bit of contrast and shape. So it's not just, because that's a nice flat image, but we need to bring that tungsten light around his face a little
Okay.
bit. All right, you can let it go. What do you think?
I like it a lot.
Does this need to be bigger?
Like spread,
Uh-huh.
if we can.
Well, I'll qualify that. Either we bring in another 1K, CTB of 1K, and just add a little bit of just like,
Over
leave
here?
the same punchiness, but add the 1K to like kind of just spread it out a bit.
Just over that way.
Uh-huh.
I think it's worth it.
Okay, cool. I think we should move it back even just a little bit more.
Okay.
Okay.
So I know for the interior stuff that
Mhm.
you were shooting, and we had a conversation about this,
Mhm.
you sort of split the difference in terms of your color temperature
That's
in
right.
the camera. Are you gonna do something different out here, or what are you gonna do?
No, we're basically, since we're continuing the same kind of color temperature or color split, we're
Yeah.
going to do the same thing with the color temperature out here. So we're going to be living in about a 5,000 Kelvin range.
Okay.
So that makes our glowiness extra glowy, and then it actually makes our HMIs and Kinos, kind of our moonlight and alien light, a little bit bluer as well.
Talk to me about some of the fixtures that you have here and
Sure.
what they may or may not be doing.
Sure. So basically what we're going to do, Ned, our main character, is going to kind of land here kind of at the front of the house
Okay.
where the rocks are.
Yep.
And so when he walks out, it's a continuation of those big 2 beams of light that we pushed through the windows yesterday. And so that will continue. So we're going to actually have an HMI that's just giving us our general alien spaceship wash. And then we're going to push a Kino through an 8x-silk, I think.
Okay.
We're going to see how it looks.
To use with that or separately?
In conjunction, because this light, one of the first thing that happens is the alien spaceship lights turn off.
Yep.
And so we're going to have, then he'll be kind of backlit by the cabin, but we needed a little bit, we're going to need a little bit of just kind
a
of
little lift or something.
moonlight
Okay.
fill.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're going to do. Our Kino is basically going to do our moonlight look whenever
Okay.
the alien light is coming in and out, because the alien spaceship will also crash, at which point we're back to a moonlight with cabin backlight look.
Obviously a small indie
Mhm.
project,
Mhm.
and you didn't, as the DP, get to come into this location and actually scout the location.
Mhm.
And so you've got lights up,
Mhm.
and in about 45 minutes is going to be the first time that you're going to be able to go ahead and strike those lights
Sure.
and actually see what they're doing exactly. You have a good idea, but
Yeah.
what is it that you're doing here to make sure that you can make quick decisions to change things if need be?
Sure. Yeah. Night exteriors, when you're kind of working on an indie budget, is like they're super stressful
Yep.
because you can't float a balloon, you can't just like create a general ambience.
Yeah.
And we're out in the middle of the country, so there's no street lights. There's nothing for us to kind of like base any ambient light from, so
Yeah.
we have to create it ourselves. And so for me, what I'm thinking about from a contingency standpoint is just making sure that I have some options to create some depth,
Yep.
so that we're not just shooting into like nothingness.
Yeah.
And so that means placing 1Ks on either side of the cabin, kind of in the back. I've got one wrapped around the porch
Yep.
that I can kick light out across the trees back there. I'm gonna have one here that I can kick some ambient up here, depending on how we end up seeing the cabin, depending on what Ryan wants. Because I don't want to get into a situation in which Ryan's like, hey man, let's go back down there and get this really great wide shot. And I go like, yeah, dude, it's not gonna, I can't do that. It's not gonna look good.
So you're giving yourself options.
Yeah, totally. And I don't know yet if a kind of bare Kino look is gonna be what we need for, you know, for Moonlight. So we've got an 8x table in case we want to shoot through. If I need to bring a 1K over, we've got them sitting over here.
Yeah.
And we can make decisions pretty quickly. And once we kind of, you know, are able to establish the look, then, you know, we're off and running. And then Ryan can say, oh, that's really cool, let's move over here. And I'm not stressing out about, you know, going, Dan, we have like this size thing we can shoot.
That's all you can get.
Yeah.
So I see over here you've got a lift,
Mm-hmm.
and so this is the tractor beam.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it's the doors kind of retract, and you know that kind of very narrow kind of beam of light comes out straight down on our character. So,
Okay.
yeah, we're using HMIs to create that, and that was one thing. You know, I mean, this is definitely an indie project for sure, and so. When Ryan and when I looked through the script and we were talking about lighting choices, you know, I kind of said, man, we're gonna need an HMI to pull off this look. And so we had to make some other compromises on lighting and grip packages
Right.
so that we could have the HMI to kind of pull off both the look pushing through the windows and this tractor beam look.
Right.
Just because you can't do it with, you know, I mean, it's a very specific
Yeah.
look. And so we don't have a grip chuck here because we have an HMI.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you've got a 1.2 on there. Is that going to play, or do you think it's,
I don't
you know?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think because we're going to try and be balancing with the kind of general ambience of the cabin, and and because we want it to be really focused, I think we're going to end up using the Joker.
So that'll potentially do two jobs.
Correct.
So for a different setup, move over there to the lift
Correct.
and let it do that.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about ISO.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know where you're going to probably live, even though you haven't actually put a camera up with this stuff yet?
Not quite yet. I think I'm going to live in the like 1,000, 1,250, 1,600 range.
Okay, and still CP Cinema locked?
Still CP Cinema locked.
Okay.
Yep, same thing. I will out here, especially when we're kind of, if we end up in a position in which I'm putting some ambience in the trees, I will cycle a LUT on and off to just kind of see how much I'm kind of just kissing the branches.
So either use View Assist or possibly the HDMI LUT.
Yeah.
Because you like to, obviously, we talked about that inside. You're looking at your monitor for reference.
Yep.
So you might go ahead and push that.
Exactly. I'll push the monitor, the LUT to the monitor.
And maybe not in this project, but are there times where when you're on a camera like the C100 Mark II where you might go to a higher ISO than the 1000 or 1250?
Yeah, definitely. The only difference, or the specific reason on this project is that HMI is just going to be screaming.
Yeah.
And so that'll kind of just generally keep us at a little bit lower, you know, lower ISO. But yeah, definitely not afraid to pump it up when I need to, for sure.
Cool. Anything else in terms of the way you're going to have the camera set up or the way you're going to use the C100 Mark II on the shoot?
I mean, I would say when it's super bright outside or it's super dark outside, I tend to bounce around between kind of the OLED on the back of the camera, the eyepiece, and then an external monitor.
Got it.
And I think kind of between the three of those, it's really nice to be able to kind of get a fuller picture of the image that you're creating. And I love being able to like kind of put my eye on the eyepiece and totally isolate, because I feel like when it's really dark or really bright, it's nice to just kind of be able to focus on just what you're capturing. And so having that great eyepiece and then the OLED, which is great, I can crank up the brightness, you know, up
You
and
can
down.
do that little
depending on-
luminance bump
Yeah,
too,
it's great.
which really helps.
It's awesome. So I think that, you know, those are just they're great tools to kind of make sure that I feel comfortable with the image that we're getting, and that I can push something to Ryan or to directors or producers I'm working with, that everybody feels good about saying, let's roll camera.
Cool. Well, I'm looking at light levels.
Yeah,
They're going down rapidly.
Yeah, but we're getting really
Yeah.
great purple back here now. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're looking, you gotten a little nice side light going right here. It's nice.
Yeah, you guys are gonna have to get these lights up, and I know that we're riding ISO
Oh,
on,
yeah,
on
totally,
our
man.
cameras right now.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna actually and it's getting cold.
Yeah.
So good
Turns
luck
out.
with that tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna be out here too doing some behind the scenes. But I'm gonna let you get back to really getting set up so you can get your first shots.
Sounds great.
And I really appreciate it, man.
You bet.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Awesome.
All right, thanks.